That's cool.
All right, so I just started this recording. I am super thankful to have one of my oldest friends I've ever had, Jason. Thank you for joining this podcast recording.
Yeah,
Um,
glad to be on.
we haven't really talked that much in decades, but only recently we've kind of reconnected a little bit, and I'm really interested to hear what you've been up to musically, creatively. I won't get too much into personal stuff, but if you want to talk about that, that's fine too. On my screen right now is a link that you sent me to your SoundCloud, and it's ElektroSaint, Jason Milligan, Oklahoma City, Shoe Repair Magic Demo. That's kind of like that was I think the first band, like actual band that I was ever in.
Yeah,
I
same
mean,
for
I'd played
me.
in
Started
projects
it
and
from
stuff.
scratch right there in our garage.
Yeah, but man, that was a fun experience.
Oh, definitely it was. It was.
We were,
It really brought me like into the whole world of making music, and you
yeah,
know, finding out what making music and being on stage is all about. It's it's like a drug almost. So to speak.
you definitely those songs that you wrote, like Unite, Gary, Fly Away, Change the World. They had a very solid like songwriting structure, and that's something that I was lacking back in the day. Like, I didn't have that like that pop sensibility, that understanding of like verse, chorus, verse, bridge.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, like looking back on them, honestly, it's like now I'm kind of like, I see so many ways I could have improved. You know what I mean? Like, it was very to me it was very raw, kind of I guess I could say some of the stuff was a little generic and kind of
where do you think your motivation for that came from? Like, what was your like headspace at the time? Like,
well, at the time I was of course I was a teenager many moons ago, and I was really into the whole tooth and nail record label scene,
oh yeah,
Christian, uh, hardcore, pop punk, ska music scene, bands like Goaty Hook, Value Pack, Dogwood,
Dogwood
Squatty
was a
Lipo.
really good band.
Yeah, they really were. Dogwood is amazing. They were one of my favorite bands back in the days. And yeah, there's just kind of that whole skate punk kind of feel and such. Um, that's kind of Value Pack was always my favorite. That was my biggest inspiration
Hmm.
in doing this whole thing,
I
the
haven't
whole
heard these band
project, really.
names in decades. It's so funny to hear them
Right?
brought back up. Um, but yeah, yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. I mean, that was the world you were living in. Your parents were obviously very involved in the religion thing. I mean, your father
Yeah, of
is,
course. My dad's a pastor, so
yeah, and so
um, I was very under the thumb of religion, and yeah, that's how I was raised. So
and I just desperately just wanted to play in a band. And it was like you lived two houses down from me, and I was like, well, sure, I'll play in a Christian punk band. Uh,
right, yeah,
but I didn't really respect it the same way that you and Joey, Joey,
yeah.
your
Joey was a
cousin,
bass player. Yeah,
yeah,
my cousin was a bass player.
Colby.
Coley Pitts was a
You
drummer.
guys were like definitely
We were
like a bit
very
more intense than I
definitely
was.
hardcore Christian teens back then.
I was just really getting into the whole rebellious teenager stuff, and at the same time
Yeah,
that I was, uh, you know, trying to be a good Christian playing in your Christian punk band. I remember playing a show at like a camp or something where I don't know, it was like a Girl Scout camp or something weird like that, and like they were like chasing our bus as we drove away, like all screaming, like we were the
Yeah, I
Beatles
remember
or
that.
like we were
That was
Elvis
so
or something.
crazy.
I was like, what did we just do? What just
Yeah, that
happened?
was.
I think they just
There's
all
some
loved.
pretty
I
interesting
think they all
shows.
just loved Colby
Yeah, they
and
really
you,
did.
yeah, because you were.
Colby was the heartthrob of the band, of course.
Yeah, it felt like we were like New Kids on the Block or something. It was like
Right?
it was so
Yeah,
bizarre.
that was strange. I totally remember that, and I remember all the days at the Outer Cafe playing Book of Madness.
Yeah, the Outer
Of course, the big
Cafe. Yeah.
band back then, here in Oklahoma City, the big band back then was Prophecy. Do you remember them?
Yeah. Didn't we get to open for them finally?
Yeah, we did tons of shows with them, opening acts for them, and really they kind of hooked us up with a band called Silage, which was I want to say they were a Tooth and Nail band. I'm not positive on that, but they were a major label band, and we got to actually play with them, open for them a couple shows, and then we went to Tulsa and opened for them, and they kind of liked us. It was pretty cool. We were kind of just starting to, I guess, make some headway with things, and that's about when we just quit doing it. So.
I feel like being in a small niche like Christian punk, especially being like in a evangelist kind of area, um, because the niche was pretty
Whoa.
small. Like there's not that many options. So like when a new up and comer shows up, it's like, oh, we can really promote these guys. We can give them a bigger stage, and we can let them play. For some of their you know open. We can let them open for some of these bigger bands. We can allow them some studio recording time. We can allow them these big venues. Whereas like
Yeah.
if you're in a secular punk rock band, like you don't get those opportunities at all. You're playing in some
Right.
abandoned warehouse and getting
Yeah.
punched in the face because you don't have a mohawk. That literally happened to me. I went to there was this venue called the Hull. It was like in just industrial downtown Oklahoma City, and there was a bunch of punk bands playing. And when I walked in, I got to watch a couple bands, and then I stepped outside to like get some fresh air, and some dude just punched me in the face and called me Jonathan Taylor Thomas. He was like, "You fucking Jonathan Taylor Thomas looking motherfucker!" Just
Wow.
like he was, wearing the suspenders, shaved head. I'm sure he was a full
Yeah.
member of the KKK or something. Just he just hated my
Right.
guts. He just looked at me and was just like, well, "What are you doing here?" Like I clearly did not belong. Like as far as like how I looked. But
Right.
so that's the comparison I'm talking about between like the Christian punk scene. Like, I mean, that's kind of a play on words in itself, Christian and punk. They just they collide. It doesn't really make sense. Same with the hardcore. It's like
Yeah. Well,
it's a
Jesus was a
juxtaposition.
rebel, so.
On that topic, like, where are you at these days as far as like, are you? I know like you
Well,
went through a lot of exploratory times between playing in Shoe Repair Magic to where we are now in our 40s. Um, but
yeah.
skipping
Well,
20 years, where are you at now? Like as far as like philosophical outlook on life and uh, religion, I guess.
no, I would, nowadays I am a Christian. Um, I wouldn't say that I'm so gung ho maybe as I was when I was a teenager about it, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
Because we definitely, back in my teenager days, we were raised pretty charismatic, Pentecostal, jumping over pews and, you know, singing craziness. So definitely more toned down, I guess, now on that.
I think I remember being invited to some of your dad's sessions. Was there a whole? My memory could be flawed, but was there like a session that you invited me to once where like people were like speaking in tongues and like just flipping out?
Yeah, there probably was. I mean, I wouldn't. It would surprise me.
I remember people just having these like almost like orgasmic experiences where they would just like close their eyes and their eyes would roll back in their head and they would just start, like falling down and like almost like having a seizure or something. Like stroking out on the floor, like having some their like body being
Yeah,
invaded by some spirit. I just thought this is fucking crazy. I was just like, this
yeah,
is
and
so
well,
bizarre.
like looking back on all that, it really is nonsense. Um,
Is it?
it, yeah, it was a lot of it. Um, a lot of that kind of religion is done for show.
Mm-hmm.
It's done to build up the person that is preaching.
Well, I mean, isn't
Um,
the goal is to make money, right? I mean,
it
usually
depends
that
on
that was like,
who is doing the. Yeah, I mean, it depends. It depends on the ministry, honestly. Because honestly, I have met genuine people that do not make money off of it, and you know
right.
live good lives, and they're not living in mansions. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but it's like if you purchase, the property, it's a commercial. Well, maybe it's not commercial, but well, there's no taxes. I guess that's a benefit. But you still gotta like pay the
Yeah,
mortgage. You gotta pay the electrical bill. You gotta keep the lights on. You gotta fund the band, the people who participate, the janitor that vacuums the floor. So you definitely have to make money somehow to
yeah,
just at least keep it afloat. If you're
right.
trying to be like an evangelist and just make millions of dollars and be on TV, that's different. But I understand what you're saying. That people just they they truly believe they're changing the world and they're doing a great service for the world. Um, in fact, one of my roommates that I lived with in Boston, he's now a pastor, pastor, um, and his thing is it's pretty intense. I tried to actually invite him, and he declined respectfully, and that's okay.
Oh yeah,
I'm not going
yeah,
to talk shit about him, but it feels you can pull up his church and everything on the internet where he posts pretty frequently about things that are going on within his community that it just feels very culty. It feels like a cult. And
yeah,
Andrew, if you're listening to this, I don't apologize for saying that. It feels very culty. It's bizarre. Yeah, but
yeah. Well, that I mean that kind of the whole mega church thing kind of borderlines on that subject. I think of becoming a cult, and becomes more of a let's how big of a production we can have rather than actual teaching about Jesus.
I will say that I reached out to him when I was struggling with alcohol and I don't know, like there was a night where I just needed to talk to somebody and like no one was
Yeah,
answering their phone. I needed to bend someone's ear and he was the one guy that answered. It was like 2 in the
yeah,
morning and on the East Coast probably 3 in the morning and we talked like all night long. And even though like our outlook on the world and the universe as it exists is completely polar opposite, he was the one guy that talked with me and allowed me to, vent whatever was going on in my head at that time. And
Yeah.
so, you know,
Definitely always good to have somebody like that in your life to talk to.
definitely respect him, even though we disagree on
Yeah.
so many fundamental things. Like it's still like nice
Right.
to have someone like that in your life that will pick up the phone at 3 in the morning. Um, Now he did go on like the next Sunday to, try to shut down Halloween, and um, it was really funny because
Yeah.
I got him to join Discord, and my user profile name, uh, like I told you earlier, I always used to just troll the fuck out of this dude, and so I made my Discord username Sorath, and Sorath is a demon. Um, Sorath is let me just pull it up real quick. See Sorath wiki. Um, okay, I guess it's a fandom, not Wikipedia, but yeah, Sorath is a demon who is the spirit of the sun, whose number is 666, and so it freaked him the f out. And in fact, Sorath is apparently far mightier than Lucifer. Um,
Oh.
so um, Sorath is a demon who is the spirit of the sun, whose number is 666. Rudolf Steiner said Sorath is the sun demon of Revelation, a great evil power far mightier than Lucifer and Ahriman. He predicted that after the turn of the millennium, spiritual people would be able to see the sun genius, the etheric vision of Christ. In response, Sorath will foment opposition through men who are possessed by him, who have strong natures, raving tongues, destructive fury in their emotions and faces, which outwardly appear like those of animals. So, I mean, it's
That's
pretty accurate
interesting.
description of me. I'm not gonna lie, it sounds kind of like me. Maybe I am Sorath.
Who knows?
Maybe I am. Maybe I am a demon, just and my meat vessel's been possessed. I'm just a
Meat vessels.
big bloody water balloon that's been possessed by Sorath.
Could be. Maybe we all are.
Anyway, I thought that was kind of interesting. That
Yeah.
it's a weird side tangent. It seems religion definitely shaped um, both of our lives a lot. But definitely, like when we were younger, I mean, I remember times when maybe I'm exaggerating, but like you weren't allowed to cross the street for the longest time. Like your parents were just like, nope. I'm like, can we just play on rollerblades and play some hockey? And your parents like, nope. You stay
Yeah.
in the driveway.
Yeah. They back in the time in those days they were very strict,
And do you think that that
pretty hardcore
strictness
about it.
had an impact on your behavior as you became a teenager and an adult?
I'm sure it did because I wanted to. Um, I went through a phase like everybody. I wanted to just see everything and know everything that's out there. And so there comes a time where you just figure it out on your own, I guess. My time came like right after, really it was right after the May 3rd tornado of '99, because that was the first time that I guess I separated from my parents.
Yeah, that was around the time that I pieced out and moved off to Boston. I was like, okay, I'm
Yeah.
done with Oklahoma. Well, also our entire neighborhood, our entire homes were destroyed. So
Yeah, that was pretty traumatic
very
ordeal we
traumatic.
went through.
I think I attribute a large portion of the anxiety that I still deal with on a daily basis. It probably
All
comes
right.
from that day.
Yeah, I totally agree on that. Yeah, that day really impacted me a lot. For me, I kind of, I really just went wholeheartedly off the rails that there was no God, that he didn't care. If there was, he wouldn't let things like this happen to people,
Right.
that sort
It
of
like
thing.
yeah, it breaks your religion. It's like, well, if
Yeah,
God is so perfect, why is this happening? Kind of question,
right.
right?
I mean, yeah, it's like why would a God that loves us let us endure these things,
Yeah, it's
go
a
through these
that
things,
was like one
because
of the
like my
earliest
dad's a
fallacies.
pastor, and like my dad's a pastor, he's worked his whole life for you, and then you take everything he owns away. Like what's up with that?
Hmm.
And so I was questioning a lot there, and after the tornado, we didn't have a house for a little bit, so we were staying in a hotel, and
Same.
I just kind of moved out, started living with some friends, and just started kind of looking at everything I ever wanted to look at in the secular world. And yeah, it was some led me through some interesting things. I mean, because I guess I would consider myself to be a seeker through life. I seek truth. I seek understanding of things. Why? How? You know what I mean? I think we all do to an extent. And I definitely, through those years, got the whole experience.
Yeah. So that's something I wanted to expand on a little bit, if you're comfortable with it. Is
Yeah,
you're
definitely. Let's talk about
seeking,
anything.
um, we're rewinding back to our, like late teenage years, like 18, 19, 20 years old after the
Right.
tornado. Um, you mentioned, I mean, you stated you kind of went off the rails. Um,
Yeah, I really did. At that time in my life,
One of
I
the
really,
questions before I forget is how much of that was like a choice? Like this can be a controversial topic, but I wanted to address it real quick because
mm,
it's something I think about often, and it comes down to your sexuality and religion and beliefs and what what is the fundamental driving force behind that? Because for me, being like a just a what I think is just normal, um, like cis male. Um, I'm attracted to women. Um, I mean, you'd look at my internet history and you'd be like, "Yep, okay." uh, like, okay, I see what he's into. But it's not like a choice. It's something to me that's just like innate. It just that is like where my brain goes. Like it's not something
yeah,
I'm selectively choosing to seek out. It's just it is what it is kind of thing. And I remember in our late teenage years, and this is in the late '90s, and so there wasn't a whole lot of conversation or talk about these kind of topics. But I know that
yeah,
you were
definitely.
undergoing some changes, and I was curious how much of that was innate versus like a choice that you decided to like purposefully like choose to explore different areas in the whole like sexual development of your early mind, late teenage brain. Does that make sense? Was that even a question? I don't know.
Yeah,
Can you just expand on that a little bit? I guess. If you're
Well,
comfortable, you don't have to.
yeah. No, no. I'm an open book about my life. I've lived quite a plethora, I guess you could say, of things.
Hmm.
Um, I after the tornado in '99, I really got heavily involved with lots of drugs. I went kind of off the rails with anything I could find all day, every day, that kind of thing. Um,
Do you attribute that to like the trauma of the tornado, or maybe just the trauma of like abandoning your religion, just kind of like rebelling against religion? Like,
I think it was a
where is that
culmination
coming
of
from?
everything, honestly.
Yeah. How'd your parents
Um,
react to like your? Because obviously they could see you
uh,
changing, you know.
right. Oh
But
yeah. It was bad. That was the worst like time I've ever had relationship wise with my parents.
I remember
Um,
even thinking to myself, like, man, Jason's got some really sketchy friends right now. Like, I don't even want to hang out with that dude.
yeah, yeah.
No, not you.
I was
When I say
pretty,
that dude, like whatever friend you were hanging out with at the time.
yeah.
Like,
Well, yeah. I'm not going to name any names, for anonymity purposes, but
yeah,
uh, yeah. I was hanging out with a lot of sketchy people, and just decided I was gonna, just quote unquote live it up, you know, I guess.
I saw some really bad houses, like really sketchy, like apartments and stuff. When you would like bring me somewhere. You're like, hey, we're gonna go hang out with this person for the day, and we'd go down
Yeah,
into
we
like
actually lived
downtown
in a
OKC, and we went into some really sketchy places. I remember just sitting there thinking to myself like, why the fuck am I here? Like, sorry, go ahead.
I think you cut out there for a second. I didn't hear anything. I
Oh,
heard by
I
the
was just talking about how you got me into like really sketchy bad houses, based on the people you were hanging out with at that time.
yeah, yeah. At the time, well, we basically we lived in a house over pretty much just a ghetto house with one of my friends, and I don't know how they had acquired the house. Apparently, him and her they got married. Some friends of mine had gotten married, and somehow acquired the house. And so me and basically all my punk rock crazy friends moved in there, and it truly was like the most wild, crazy experience I've ever had.
Was that the
We had
again without saying any names, but was that man gray haired and maybe taught middle school at
This was through those times,
junior high?
right around those times. Yeah, this was actually before I met him.
Okay. Okay.
Um,
Yeah. It's so long ago. It's hard for me to keep track
right,
of it.
right.
Yeah. It's your life, so
Yeah, this
you remember it way better, of course.
yeah, this was before I met him, and we would I don't know, we were just nuts. I mean, we would have bonfires in our living room and big oil barrels
Jesus.
and just crazy. I mean, we didn't have any AC, we didn't have any running water in the place. I mean, we were living like squatters basically, and we didn't pay rent because nobody had any jobs,
So it sounds like
but
this
we
is
lived
like
there.
during a winter season. That's why you have a barrel fire in the living room.
Yeah, we actually
Was that just to stay warm, or was that just because you just didn't give a fuck and you're just
it was
like
just
doing
kind
drugs
of
and
yeah, it was more of a hey, we're tripping on acid and let's do this today kind of thing.
back in the old tripping days? Oh man.
Yes, we were heavily involved in that, to say the least.
Oh, DXM. Dextromethorphan hydrobromide.
Evil substance.
Oof. Yeah. Evil. I feel like it to this day still has like had an impact on how my brain works. Um, and I don't think it was in a good way. Like, some
Oh
people
yeah,
they'll take shrooms or DMT and they'll have like this experience or that melts down their ego and they stop beating their wife and they're like, "Oh, I'm such a sensitive man now. I can't believe I used to be such an asshole." And that's cool, if you have like some sort of trip like that where, is a game changer or whatever, but like
right.
DXM was not like that. It was just like,
No, yeah, it was just made you kind of psychotic and uh, took you into dark places, more so than like a good experience, I guess you could say. It did
I
for me,
mean, I will
anyways.
admit I had some really amazing experiences, especially once I like would combine it with weed. It would like set it off, and I would just like hit a new plateau where um, I had a few really nice experiences with Jason Carlisle on DXM, but I mean,
Yeah, I
I would
remember him.
never
Yeah,
promote that ever to anyone, ever, ever, ever.
right.
Um, and I ended up doing it like way too many times, and it lost its luxor and just
Well, yeah, it's like once you reach that peak, you can't really do anymore. You kill yourself, and I kind of experienced that myself. I
yeah.
I ended up overdosing twice throughout those years.
So when you say you overdosed, like I mean like that was the mechanism. So like if you take, you know, 2 tablespoons of cough syrup, that's the recommended dosage or whatever. But if you eat like 18 or 16 pills of quercetin, you are literally overdosing. But you're overdosing to create the effect. So are you saying you went
Right, right.
beyond the standard overdose to create the effect, and you went beyond that to a point where it was like, what? Like we're in the hospital, or like,
Yeah, like I had to like. I mean, I was totally incoherent and like had to go to the ER and
ugh.
I mean they just basically all they do is fill you up with fluids and I mean
To get
if
the
it's just
charcoal in the
that,
stomach kind of thing, or
yeah, they do that kind of stuff and
when was
yeah,
that?
that was around 2000, 2001.
Yeah, so I'd already moved.
This was kind of after the punk rock house when I was living with a crazy old man.
Yeah, at that point I was like, Jason Milligan's gone off on his own thing. I'm moving up to
Yeah,
Boston. I don't want to deal with the
right.
weirdos anymore. Like I'm out of here. Like, and I pieced out, man. And I was gone for 11 years. Um,
Yeah. Well, good for you. Get out of this place for a while.
it definitely shaped my life experience, and
Yeah.
it shaped who I am today, and shaped my experiences, and I don't regret it at all. I think it was a positive thing. Um, I don't know where my life would be if I'd stayed in Oklahoma. Not really sure. You know, might
Yeah.
just be
I
like married, and like sitting on a boat or something and living right
yeah.
now. But I don't know.
I tried to move away one time, back in back in these crazy years of mine. My friend decided he wanted to move to New York City and he invited me to go with him, so I was like, you know, I'm feeling free right now and I'm just gonna do whatever I want to do. So I moved to New York City for a month and while it was really amazingly awesome, it was pretty crazy, really. Like I could not survive there on my own.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when you came to visit me in Boston, and like the first night you got mugged, or maybe it wasn't the first night, but you we were trying to score some weed, and um, you went to an ATM, and some dude put a trash can over your head
Yeah,
and kicked you down and took your money.
got mugged,
Yeah.
Boston. Yeah.
Um, Before we deviate from the topic too far, I did just want to ask you, And I think I did ask, but maybe I didn't get clarification. But and this is kind of an awkward question, but I just wanted to understand, like, when I talked about me being like a cis male, and I talk about, like, my internet history, and for me it's very involuntary. It's not something I think about. It's like human nature. Do you or did you find like it was a choice for you, and you deliberately just opted to um
Well, yeah,
to I don't know how to frame this question, because I know you have history, and currently I believe you identify as trans, correct? Or am I wrong? Um,
your phone is like we're really cutting out a lot.
I'm sorry. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah, that was good. I don't know. It's like it was like every other word was kind of
Okay. Sorry about that. Just let me know if I'm cutting out. But basically,
okay.
what I was trying to ask is a difficult question. Um, for me personally, I've never felt like a choice when it comes to my sexuality. It's always felt like innate. It's always felt like it's just like a part of like human nature. Um, and I was curious for you because you've kind of switched it up uh, a little bit, and I didn't know if that was like innate feeling like human nature, or if it's like a deliberate choice that you decided over the course of time. I don't know.
Right. Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, because for me, it seems very. It, for me, it doesn't feel like it's a choice. For me, it is just part of my identity. But for you, it seemed like maybe it was different, but I don't know. That's why I'm asking. That's the
Yeah.
question. Like, what is it, a choice that you make, or is it different? How can you expand upon that and try to make it make sense for someone like me?
Well, I would say that like I don't know in those years I really I was really into the whole gothic thing and like the whole goth scene and beauty and um I don't even know how to explain this. It's difficult to explain.
So, like, you think like the scene and the culture
Um,
of like the goth like scene kind of opened your mind to that kind of lifestyle a little bit more?
right. Yeah, I did, I guess, because like I started going to a lot of golf clubs with my friends and started meeting a lot of gay and bisexual people. And I'd never had friends like that before. Like, I mean, I had lived kind of a sheltered life. And so, I was meeting these new people for the first time, new kind of people, I guess you could call them. I don't know. I'm not trying to,
Kind of a sheltered life. You definitely lived a sheltered life.
yeah,
Your
yeah.
parents
Okay,
wouldn't
yeah,
let you cross the
yeah. You're
street.
right. Right. So, yeah, anyways, through that scene, like, there's a lot of makeup and it's kind of, there's a lot of blurring the lines between male, female, uh, articles of clothing, things like that, androgynous stuff. Um, and so I started kind of, I mean, here I am, this deep search for who I am or whatever. I kind of went to, I came out that I thought, I was bisexual and like transgender.
When do you think that thought like coalesced for you? Like, what was like the year? Do you remember
It
it?
was
Like,
about when I was about 20 or 21.
was it like an epiphany, like, oh, or was it just a slow, gradual, just okay, I've come to this conclusion over time?
It was really a thought out thing for me, anyways, because I don't know, I analyze the hell out of everything. So, before I do something, um, I I mean, it's around that time that I decided that I wanted to transition and um, live life as a woman.
All right, so it's definitely highly calculated. You thought it through. Um, you did your own analysis and you weighed the pros and cons, and you're like, this is what I'm gonna do.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
I mean, it was a heavy thing. I mean, it. I lost friends over it. I lost girlfriends over it.
well,
Um,
of course you're gonna lose girlfriends if you're a woman now. So
right. I mean,
unless
that's
they're
expected.
lesbian, I guess. But
Yeah, I tried that path too.
oh, really?
Uh, yeah.
I hate to even laugh and joke about it because it's so serious, but it's
No,
um,
but you have to, I don't know, take it with a grain of salt. Yes.
I guess, you know, I try to be sensitive because I don't know much about this topic, and that's why I'm asking these questions because I think it's a good opportunity to put out some of these awkward questions that a lot of us want to know, and a lot of people have
Right.
probably gone through very similar experiences and just they're just not brave enough to talk about it, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so you made that choice, you made that deliberate, um, conscious decision, and when was that? Like early 2000s,
Yeah.
and then
Um,
since then, like so at that time, you're like, it sounds like you weren't really too concerned about religion and Christianity, and um,
no,
you were just
honestly, at that time, I was really heavily studying a lot of Wicca and
okay.
LaVeyan Satanism.
Interesting. Okay.
Right? It's like, oh, here comes another big, open
Uh,
Pandora's box. I really, I don't know,
it makes sense, Jason. I
when I
mean,
left
like,
Christian faith, I really, I wanted to know about every
yeah, you
religion,
went
and I
polar
wanted to know
opposite.
what they believe,
Yeah.
and I want to know why they believed it. So I mean, I studied. I mean, I really now consider myself, I feel very well versed in, I guess you could call it like religious, comparative religion,
I think it's
because I've studied
fascinating.
so much.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that you say like you studied it and you did like a deep dive in it, it's very scholarly. It's not like you're just reading a blog about crystals that resonate at certain frequencies and
Right. Yeah. I mean, that goes with my whole nature, I guess. I've always been the kind that's like, if I get passionate about something, I am all in. And that works for good and bad, unfortunately.
yeah, but it does allow you to get to the end point get to the end game. Um, if you're just pursuant on the ultimate like end game,
Yeah. Yeah.
what's the driving force behind all of this, and you finally figure it out, and it's like, oh, this crystal's resonating at this frequency, and that's responsible for computers and microchips. That's pretty awesome. It's like it's some wizard black magic going on. Um, but at the same
Yeah.
time, you can also kind of get confused with some of that stuff, and the next thing you know, you're hanging out with someone that's shooting up meth. It's like, okay,
Right.
time to get out of here.
Yeah.
This is a bad
It,
house.
Definitely. Yeah, it's definitely taken me good, bad places. That's for sure. Mostly bad.
Mostly
Unfortunately.
bad. Yeah. So from 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22 years old, um, there was wild changes happening in your life, from playing in our Christian punk band to transitioning to a woman. Where are you at now? From then until now, I know you stated you're a Christian again now,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
how does that align with, because Christianity, is gonna say bad things about a lot of your life choices. Christianity doesn't seem quite compatible with a lot of the things we've been talking about. So how does that how do
yeah.
you reconcile that?
Well, I have since like detransitioned, so to speak. Um, I I don't really think that it is a healthy lifestyle choice for people. Um, and I mean that's personal opinion. Um,
I guess that's where I kind of get a little confused. So like when I talk about my sexuality, and I'll be very open about it. It
mm,
doesn't feel like it's a choice. It feels like it's innate. Like it's like just like an instinct. Like when a cow wants to chew on some grass, it's like just acting on mechanical impulse. Like it's not like
yeah,
making a
right,
deliberate
right.
choice to chew grass. It's just like I'm programmed to chew grass, and that's just what cows do. And that's kind of the way I feel when it comes to like my own sexuality. It's just like it's a mechanical impulse. But it seems like you have gone through different variations of that, and I'm curious how you view that now. Like, is
Yeah.
it is it a
Well,
mechanical impulse, or is it a deliberate choice that you're making because you've reconciled the bad behaviors and you're trying to change things? And I don't know. I'm confused.
yeah.
Can you
Me
explain
too.
some of that? Can you like try to like make sense of that for me, or is it just we're still just figuring it out? It's just an open playbook.
No, it's well, the basically to try and understand the whole transgender thing, you do have to look at sexuality and gender as different. Um, and I lost my train of thought. Sorry.
Do do you think you like? Did you ever feel dysmorphia? Like you felt like a woman but in a man's
Yes.
body? Like,
Yeah. I went through a lot of that.
do you still feel that or no?
Um, I mean, I can't say I don't sometimes, but
But it seems like you're opting towards religion because it seems like some of your past behaviors led you down bad paths, and you've made like a conscious decision to deny some of those innate feelings.
yeah, possibly have.
Or on the flip side, those feelings were not innate in the first place, and it was just something that you were exploring on purpose, rather than it being like human nature innately, just like intrusive thoughts firing in your brain, like you were choosing to make those decisions. That's where I get a little confused.
Yeah, and I mean that's honestly that I guess that's where the whole debate is about, whether you're born this way or is this a decision.
Yeah.
Um,
And this is super highly controversial topic. There's millions of people um, that have had, a similar experience to you, and I'm sure this has probably been vetted out on political debate podcasts and stuff.
Yeah,
uh, and
definitely.
I'm sure it's highly volatile, and I could probably find myself getting in trouble by posting this video online if I choose to upload it because, like I said, there's millions of people that have gone through similar experiences that you have, and my just rough understanding is lacking. But I'm curious and I'm trying to get to the bottom of it, and I just don't know if I'm asking it in a polite way or a conscientious way that is respectful,
Yeah. Well, you don't have to worry about that. You're not gonna hurt my feelings or anything about it. If you ask something, I don't get offended about it. This whole subject. Um,
All right, cool. I don't want to, spend too much time on that topic. We can make a harsh transition, play on words. Favorite bands? What are you listening to these days?
well, I definitely, my all-time favorite band is Bauhaus.
Yeah, I
Um,
remember that about you. Yeah,
they were
you
my good
introduced
old
me to
favorite.
Bauhaus, and like, yeah, like putting up aluminum foil on your windows and blacking out everything. Uh,
Yeah, they will always be one of my favorite bands. The Cure, of course, the old classic Cure.
did I tell you that
Um,
I saw The Cure live?
I got to see them twice,
Nice.
a couple times. Yeah, they put on a great show live.
I got to
Very,
see
very good
them.
stuff.
They played like a super show. They played with Interpol, The
Oh, nice.
Cure,
Yeah.
and uh, the Muse. Muse, but Muse was in the like small stage. They weren't
Right,
cool
like
yet.
they didn't exist back then, or
No,
so to
they
speak.
were like,
They weren't big on the music scene.
yeah, they had to play like the kids table.
Right, right. Yeah.
And I
I
was like, wow, these guys are pretty good. It's not bad.
see. I went to the exact same thing. I think it was like the Curiosa Festival or something.
Yeah, I
Um,
saw them in
and
Massachusetts. It was in Western Mass,
yeah, I went
out
in.
by like where like Six Flags is and stuff. Excuse me.
I went once in Cleveland, and then I saw The Cure just solo um, as in St. Louis. So, yeah, pretty cool stuff.
All right,
Love
so
Robert
both
Smith.
bands, old bands. Anything new? Anything on the forefront?
I just heard some clips from a new band that a friend had told me he was listening to that he was getting into called Cannons, and checked out a few of
Cannons.
their tracks. Pretty good stuff.
So that's part of the thing that I like to do. I've literally just started this project just out of boredom, but is I like to listen to music and review it, and
Yeah,
especially music that I've never heard before, and so that way I can give like a fresh take on it. Like, that was cool, or that was I hate it.
right.
Um, is that something you'd be open to listen to, or do you have maybe a
Oh,
different
definitely, yeah.
recommendation? If you want to text me
Um,
a link, I can pull it up and we can listen to the track together if you're down for that.
yeah, I would have to actually look in my text messages from my friend to
Yeah,
get the
no
name of
problem.
the song. Do that real quick. And refill my drink here.
While you're pulling up that information, I can throw you some softball questions. Synthesizers. Um,
Yeah.
what do you? What's your go-to synth right now?
Well, right now I'm in a transitionary period, so to speak. Right now I'm just using MIDI and a MIDI controller and
Gotcha.
good
Okay.
software
So
synth
what's
with
your software
DAW.
synth and your MIDI controller of choice then?
For now, right now, I'm just using Ableton Live.
Okay, Ableton.
Um, yeah, I use that for pretty much everything.
And then
Um,
how big is your MIDI controller? Is it like 12 keys? Is it like 32 keys? Is
I have a
71?
64 key
Okay.
controller that I use.
M audio?
Yeah, it's just
Yep.
it was cheap in audio rig, and
Gotcha.
I am on the path to purchase my dream instrument, which would be a Nord,
Yes.
which we talked about. Yeah,
Yeah, man. Those things
I
are, yeah, they're
nothing
dreamy.
sounds better. It's just
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
want that.
I just dropped a cool stack. I just dropped $1,000 on a new audio interface. I dropped $4,000 on a new computer. Um, like I bought a new acoustic guitar. I've been buying all this stuff and just like I'm buying all this hardware to like try to improve my life. And at some point, I'm like, okay, now it's time to actually do the work. Uh,
Right.
so I feel like that's where I'm at right now. That's part of this podcast. That's part of me reaching out to people and talking to people, sharing lived experiences, sharing old stories, sharing new stories. What are you into? What motivates you? What keeps you going? What life lessons
Right.
have you learned? Um,
Yeah, and like I'm kind of on that same path, I guess you could say. I'm ready to create again. You know,
mhm.
I just recently started playing again here recently.
Me too.
Within probably the past 6 months or so. Um,
For me, it's
started
been like
playing
10
again.
years.
So, oh well. Yeah, before this, I hadn't really played in probably 5 years or so.
I mean, if I were at someone's house and there was an acoustic guitar sitting in the corner, of course I'll pick it up and
Right.
be the life of the party for 30 minutes. But um, it wasn't the same when I was.
Not like creating and writing and
I had
recording
I had a
and
home
yeah.
studio set up, and I had a workflow where I could come home from
Right.
work, turn on my computer, and within 10 minutes I could bang out two songs. And just be like, all right, here you go, upload it, But and so like I was kind of like Picasso in the sense that like I was just firing off painting after painting after painting after painting, and every now and again, some of those would be good, but I was just
Yeah.
producing so much content because I had a steady workflow. I had, you know, this setup where I could just sit down and then just grab the guitar, grab the mic, put on some headphones, and within minutes, like I'm bouncing a new upload. I'm bouncing a new recording.
Yeah.
And I have multiple external hard drives that are just full of those recordings, just full of content. So that maybe one day that'll be my legacy. Someone will like find my external hard drives and be like, "What the fuck was this guy doing? Holy shit!" Uh, so I'm trying to get back to that point where I have a steady workflow. So
Yeah.
I'm piecing together all the pieces of the puzzle. I'm right now securing all the hardware, and then the next phase is loading up Pro Tools and getting everything all synced up, getting my account activated, getting all the plugins and guitar emulators that sound like I'm playing through like like a tube amp, um,
Right. Right.
getting a software synth set up, getting a sequencer set up, sampler, um, click tracks, like just the whole workflow, everything that's involved in doing a one man band kind of thing. Um,
Right.
I want to get back into that workflow where I can just sit down. If I've got a melody in my head, I can just crank it out, and just
Yeah.
pump it out because
Definitely.
I have melodies in my head all the time. I don't know if that's a weird
I do too.
sickness
Yeah.
or disease
I'm
or something.
constantly just yeah. I'm constantly humming something new or in my head. If I could have like all the recordings that are in my head, I'd
Yeah.
have a library.
I think it's I don't know, maybe it's part of the spectrum. Maybe we both have a little mild hint of autism or something. I don't know how you categorize it, but I
I've
definitely
honestly
have the
thought about that.
earworm, the earwig problem. Someone can just say a
Yeah,
word and a song will be stuck in my head all day. And when I hear
yeah.
a
I'm kind of the
song
same
in my
way.
head, I don't hear just a melody. I hear the entire
Right,
orchestration.
full on orchestra and yeah,
Yeah,
like everything.
I hear everything simultaneously. I hear the drums, the kick drum, the hi-hat, the snare, the bass, the synthesizer, the guitar, the vocals, everything simultaneously. And I'm also picturing the engineering team and the producer and just people splicing tape. It's all simultaneously like happening in my head. I'm just like, wow, it's kind
Yeah.
of debilitating. It's almost like too much.
Yeah. Yeah, speaking of that, I did some substitute teaching for a little while, and I worked with a lot of kids that were on the spectrum, and it really made me learn a lot about what I thought of myself. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, I've thought about that too. Um, I might be a little bit on the spectrum somewhere out there. I'm not sure.
Right. I
I
feel like
really don't
and
know.
that, actually I was well, I had one of my ex girlfriends kind of quote unquote diagnosed me with that as well. She kind of was the first person to put that in my mind. I was
Have
like,
you
I
ever
never
taken
even thought about that.
medication for that specifically?
No, no.
I remember in high school, Westmore, there was one computer course, and I was just always just so bored and checked out. But one day, someone gave me their ADHD medication,
Yeah.
and I went into that computer class and I did everyone's homework within like 10 minutes. I was like, here you go, bam, 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 bam. I just
Right.
suddenly I was like the best computer programmer ever. I ran HTML code for everyone, and I was done. And then I went to the teacher and I was like, "Is there anything else we can do? Is there anything else? What's next?" And he was like, "Go ahead and have a seat, Mark." But yeah,
Wow.
um, I think that was Adderall. Um,
Yeah, probably
but
was.
basically, what that confirmed is that I pretty much don't have ADHD, because if you have that reaction, that it's like taking meth or taking speed. But like for people who do have legit ADHD and trouble concentrating, when it seems when they take Adderall or um, whatever prescribed medication, it just all it does is it just calms them down and brings them to like a level playing field, like a level of normalcy. And that's
Right.
the anxiety medication that I take. That's what it does for me. It brings me from like a major anxiety, heart pumping, heart throbbing, like intense
Yeah.
feeling to just like, ah, now I can just kind of calm down and just be normal. Whereas like if I give my medication to someone who doesn't have anxiety, they just want to take a nap. They're like, I'm really tired. I gotta go to bed now, because it's like a sedative, you know.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
But for
Definitely.
me, it just brings me down to a 3 instead of a
Just a
10.
yeah. Yeah. Chill.
Um,
Speaking of anxiety, there's a great song about anxiety. If you kind of heard it, it just popped in my head. When I can't like think of the word anxiety without thinking of a song.
what song is that?
It's a. Have you ever heard of a band called Against Me?
Mm, I don't
A
think so,
band.
but I'll pull it up right now.
Yeah, it's a song called "Born on." What is it? No, the name escapes me. "Born on the FM Waves," something like that.
Born on the 4th of July? No.
No,
Band Against Me, Born Again This Way?
no.
Newsboys, Ann Wilson, Newsboys, Ann Wilson. That's not it. Band Born Against Me. I'll just try that. See what I get.
Do like "Band Against Me," "Born FM Waves."
How do you type FN waves? How do you spell that?
Just like FM waves,
Oh, FM, as in like
frequency modulation.
yeah, yeah, yeah. FM radio. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, Born Against Me band.
I thought that was the
Born
name of
FM
that.
radio. I like a good challenge. I like when it's difficult to find. Okay, I think I may have found it. Is it just called Against Me? Um, like with an
Yep,
exclamation point, and it's
yep.
black and
That's
white
the band.
video.
Yeah, it probably is.
All right, so it's on Warner Records Vault, and it's also on Sire Records. This one has 3.9 million views 14 years ago. Does that sound right?
Probably it. Yeah.
Okay, I can link this to you. Let me send it to you. Is this correct? I just sent you a text message.
Let me check real quick.
We've done a lot of catching up and stuff, and one of the things I like to do is listen to music too. So it'd be kind of cool
Yeah,
if
definitely.
we can maybe listen to a track or two and kind
Yeah.
of review it and talk about it.
Yep, that's it. Yeah, black and white video.
Cool. Yeah, so I got it queued
I
up on
think you'll
my
relate to this
computer.
song in a lot of ways if you listen to the lyrics. It's very well written.
Okay, I
Hang
will
on, I got
enable
some audio
closed
going on here.
captions while I'm
Oh,
getting this set up.
there we
Oh, closed captions are unavailable. Never mind.
go. Oh, stupid phone, shut up.
I can just look up the lyrics, so.
Okay, there we go. Sorry about that.
Against Me, Born on the FM Waves lyrics. Yeah, no problem, dude. All right, I got the lyrics. So the whole reason that I wanted you to join the Discord server is so that
Hmm.
I can stream it within Discord and you can watch in real time. But this way, because we're not connected on Discord right now, we'll just have to do like a synchronized like listen. So it'd be like, all right, are you ready to hit play? Like 3, 2, 1, play, go, kind of thing.
Okay. Yeah,
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I did find the lyrics. I'll send that to you as well. And as long as we're watching the same video, so I texted you the link to the video that I'm gonna watch.
Yeah.
And I think I just accidentally sent you the same link twice. No? No, that's correct. Yeah. So I sent you a link to the song and I sent you a link to the lyrics. So if you're down to give this a listen and then we'll talk about the song after, let me know when you're ready.
Yeah, I'm not gonna listen on my end. I know the song like by memory. I've listened to it so much because it's just difficult for me to navigate. Like I said, on the computer with my eyes and such.
Okay.
But let's see.
Well, I definitely want to hear it.
Yeah, I want you to hear it as well. Man,
The second link I sent you is the lyrics at least, so you can maybe follow along that way. That's something else I want to talk about before we wrap up is your current disability with your eyesight and your health and everything.
yeah.
So, all right, if you're not gonna listen to it, that's fine. I feel
I would
weird.
love to listen to it. I just honestly, I'm having a hard day of seeing right now, and I cannot hardly seem to make things out right now.
That's unfortunate, man. I did send you a link in a text message. Um, if there's another way that I can help provide it to you, let me know. Uh, Discord would have been really easy, but I understand the I'm beginning to understand some of the complications you're dealing with.
Yeah, it's kind of rough. It's hard. It's been a hard thing to get used to because it's like
It's a
the
handicap.
inability to navigate new spaces.
Hmm.
It's just weird, you know. I mean, that's strange, you know. We're used to just walking around wherever you don't want to go, and you know, I really can't do that anymore because I literally would, you know, I may fall, I would trip, I I can't see, you know, good enough that um, curves and things like that really sneak up on me, and
It sounds
so
scary.
it is a bit scary. It it's alright. It'll be alright. Yeah. It is what it is. At least I'm not completely blind, you know. I mean, it could be worse.
This is the old cliche, but like, when one of your primary sensors starts to malfunction, you hear stories about your other your other sensors being more amplified, like your sense of smell, your sense of hearing, like, the
Yeah.
typical story of Stevie Wonder. Just have you noticed any changes from your other sensory inputs?
Um, not yet.
That's like a comic book stupid question. Like, oh, are you Spider-Man now?
No, not yet because I'm still honestly I've not I guess started to work with it much yet. Very been very guided, I guess.
Okay. Well, I think I'd like to go ahead and give this song a really quick sample.
Definitely.
I'm just gonna go ahead and click the link. If we were doing like a live stream on Twitch or Kick or something like that, you would hear it. But I'm just gonna give this a quick play. This is "Born on the FM Waves of the Heart," sung by Against Me. All right, so just for the sake of our conversation, because I don't want to sit here in a bunch of silence, um, I kind of skipped through the recording a little bit and
Mm.
tried to gather it as quickly as I could. It's 2008, I think. Um,
Yeah.
so when I asked you, like, what are you listening to these days, and what's on your playlist, this is on your playlist.
Yeah, I still listen to a lot of that style stuff, you know. Kind of, I'm not honestly I it's hard for me to pick up new bands.
I think that's the
Um,
same with everyone our age. It's like we always kind of revert back to like a certain era of our life where it's like back in 2008 I was listening
right.
to this, or back in 2004 or 1999. Yeah, most of my favorite bands are from certain areas of my life that are not currently present.
Yeah. I got one band that I do really like a whole lot. This current, I guess, would be Muse. Their stuff is really good. I like them a lot.
Muse. Okay.
Yeah.
I wish the evolution track that I wrote for Shoe Repair Magic was on the demo, but
Yeah, I do
it's
too. I'd like to heard it.
it's probably better that it's not. Oh man.
We need to hit up Colby. He's actually got the reel from that. Did we record it?
I want to say yeah. I think we did. I think we
Yeah,
did it in
I can't
Tulsa.
remember what we all did. What all we did.
We like had like this weird road trip, and we were in a studio in Tulsa. Do you remember that? I think it was Tulsa.
Yeah, that was well, we recorded the demo in Norman, but we did go to Tulsa with Silage. That was one of when we opened for Silage.
Okay. Yeah, my memory is pretty shit. So.
Yeah, mine is like I don't know. I have random sporadic memories, of things. Really, I don't know. As far as the new music goes, or finding new music, it's just, I guess it's difficult for me because there's so much music out there nowadays and so much trash out there nowadays that I don't know.
Well, while we're talking about trashy music, should we listen to one track of Shoe Repair Magic?
Sure.
I'm looking at the demo. We got Unite, Gary, Fly Away, Change the World. Those are the 4 tracks on the original demo.
Yeah.
This would be one of those occasions where I think we should do like a 3, 2, 1 play and like listen to it at the same time if you're capable of doing that. If not, it's all good.
Yeah. Once again, I really can't. I can't make out my browser right now. So.
No, you're good. It's all good. So I think I will choose.
See, Change the World had the little guitar solo in it. Unite was a good one. I thought.
Oh man, I haven't heard.
Yeah, bring back memories, doesn't it?
Yeah, I can picture the amplifier, like everything that's happening. Yeah, so it's a 3 minute and 5 second song. So I'm gonna go and just play it for the sake of the podcast recording that I'm gonna eventually like edit and upload. Dang, this has 15 followers. There's 15 people out there that like.
Yeah, because I don't know. I posted on Facebook several years back when I uploaded it. There was like a surge of little people that knew about it. My 15 people that knew me.
All right, let's change the world. Track number 4 of the Shoe Repair Magic demo from 8 years ago. I'm gonna hit play in 3, 2, 1, play. I played this. The open one. I just
definitely
finished the track.
had the whole pop feel to it. Yeah.
I couldn't hear you while I was listening to it. My mix on my end wasn't set up. Um, so sorry about that. Who played
No.
that guitar solo? Was that me?
Yes, I remember Jason Velasquez wrote it for us. We didn't actually have it in there, and he came
That
up with
doesn't
it, I
surprise
think.
me. Like there was like some dude that was like 10 years older than us being like, "Hey, why don't you just like just play this?"
Yeah, he was the guy from Prophecy. He's the guitarist from Prophecy that basically hooked us up with the studio time. He did the mixing and all the whole recording and that
Hmm.
demo.
I remember doing the hardcore like crowd vocals, the group vocals for Unite.
Yeah, I remember that too. That was a fun experience.
But yeah, man, you definitely have some songwriting chops for sure. I mean, even going back then, like I never had the ability to write songs like in a structured way that like caught people's attention. My songwriting structure was like, oh, I got a riff. Um, what happens if we combine this riff with this riff? Whereas like yours followed like more of the like standard style of pop production and like
Yeah,
verse, chorus, verse, bridge, and like just basic like music theory. There's
yeah, because I think I think back then I literally was reading like songwriting for dummies because I didn't know what I was doing because I didn't I mean I was young. I really just you know it was very
and you were the lead man. You were
simple.
the front man for the band, and it shows in those songs, just in those 4 tracks. And I know we had a lot more, but anytime that you were the ringleader, like it always the songs were very matter of fact, and it was followed a formula, and it's a formula that's proven to work. I mean, the Beatles did it, Elvis did it, like it's it's proven to work. It's like that's what happens, and you get a bunch of girls chasing your van down the road.
Right, right.
So that was cool. That was very cool to listen to.
Yeah, those songs are definitely bring back some nostalgia. That's for sure. I mean that, of course, for me that was my first songwriting. That was my first songs I ever wrote.
Yeah. So then after Shoe Repair Magic, that was a very volatile time in your life, as we've already talked about. So right around then, we were, you know, probably 16, 17, and then after that, it was 18, 19, 20, 21, and that's kind of, as you said, you kind of went off the rails a little bit.
Yeah, I did have a musical project going on during that time. Um, it was called Livid Epiphany, and
I remember that
it
name. Yeah.
it was kind of a experimental dark wave industrial project that I started working on, and I had came up with a couple songs, and I was able to get a I'm at the time the internet was all fresh and new, and we were just exploring meeting people online and such. Um, I was able to get hooked up with a record label out of Canada called Flaming Fish Music that was doing some uh, industrial and goth style stuff, and it was put on one of their sampler albums. Uh, the one track I did uh, called No Tomorrow. It's kind of
There's
a
no
dance
tomorrow.
industrial.
I remember
Yep,
that.
that's it. Yeah, yeah.
Is that
That
still
was
available? Can I pull it up online and listen to it?
I have it personally. I don't think you can find it online.
Okay.
Um, I'll send you a copy of it.
Well, I'm just
Um,
out of
Maybe I'll have
curiosity.
to
If I just search
upload
Vivid,
this to
if
your Pair Magic site, SoundCloud or something. uh, but yeah, I did
Livid
that one. Those couple
Epiphany
tracks, and
band, there's no tomorrow. Nope. No, it's not. It's, yeah. You definitely removed
yeah,
it.
yeah,
I don't blame you, you know.
yeah. Well, back in those times, I really I got I got really sabotaged on that project because like my my hard drive crashed on me and I lost everything. And I was so like devastated because I'd like worked for months. You know, I mean, honestly, back then it was like I was using like a wave editor to like make these beats with and such. It was really, really like,
Was that the era where I mentioned earlier? I won't get into it, but like the school teacher dude. I feel
this
like
was before that. Um,
okay.
it was around the same time though. I mean, this was right before I met him, I believe. Um,
Whatever happened to that guy?
Still teaches school. Um, don't really keep in contact with him anymore much.
Still
Yeah.
driving me
I,
up.
I get a message. It's like one of those people you get a message from every like 2 years, you know, and they'll ask how
Yeah,
you're doing. That kind
kind of like me,
of thing.
except even longer. It was like 20 years.
Yeah, we do that. Yeah. And I was let's see, that was my second project I did. That was in 2000, and then after that I was involved with two other projects um, in later years.
I'd love
Uh,
to hear some music that you've done. If there's anything that you're open to share, if you want to link something, be happy to put it on the podcast and broadcast it out there and share
yeah, we'll definitely
a
do that.
link link to whatever. Um,
The other couple bands I worked with, um, I don't actually have recordings of myself playing with them. One band they decided kind of at the last minute they wanted a synth player on their tour with them for the promotion of their new album, so I kind of jumped on board and played some synths for it. Was actually a Christian hardcore band, and that was an experience
what was the name of
to
that
say the
band?
least. That band's name was Navi and Navi,
How do you spell that?
Neviah space Nevi. The album name was By the Blood of Their Feet.
Yep, they're on the Apple Music Store. Um,
Yeah,
by the Blood of Their
they were
Feet,
on Wounded Records. Yeah,
2007. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I when they right after they recorded the album, I joined up with them because I was friends with them. Um, Wanted something to play with, you know. They added me on, so I added a little couple of extra synth parts, and you know, I went on their first leg of their tour with them. We did the kind of a little northeastern tour. I don't know, it is more southeastern. Kind of winded all through the east. What,
Interesting. So you got to travel a little
about
bit.
3 months. Yeah, it was really cool. You know, I mean, it's kind of like you feel like you're living out your little rock star dreams. You know,
Right.
getting to jump in a van every day, go to the next gig and play. I mean, we made absolutely nothing other than it's like we barely survived, you know, to have gas to get to our next destination.
Well, you're playing in a Christian hardcore band.
Right, exactly. But we did actually have some opportunities to play some
I
festivals,
mean, not to
some of
poke
the
fun at
bigger
that. I
Christian music
mean,
festivals.
I'm sure you guys were all passionate about your songwriting and your contributions to what you're doing, and every night when you got up to perform, I'm sure you put everything into it that you had. But at the same
Oh,
time,
definitely.
you have to still acknowledge the weird contradiction that it's hardcore, but like hardcore and
Yeah.
Christianity just don't go hand in hand. The same way
Right.
that punk rock and Christianity don't go hand in hand. So like, I still
Yeah.
struggle to reconcile this conflict. It's interesting that you went back to that, um, especially given the cycles in your life that we've talked about
Yeah.
with
This was a
with your
time when
how you
I,
identify as a person and how that conflicts with society and people's just interpretations of like what does it mean to be a trans person or gay or bisexual or straight even like and then compounded with our background with certain traumas, music, recording, and then ideology, religious belief, politics, all this stuff. Like it all kind of comes together in this weird flimsy not flimsy, it just messy bundle. It's like a rubber band ball. It's like
yeah, right.
there's all these layers
Yeah.
going back in time, and it's like when you first start a rubber band ball, like those first folds, don't really mean a whole lot. But after you keep stacking rubber bands and rubber bands and rubber bands on top of it, you got this rubber band ball that's the size of a cue ball, for playing
Yeah.
pool, and it's like, what happens if I strip away some of these layers? Like, what's really underneath? What's really going on? I am rambling a little bit, but I'm still just kind of, I guess, a little bit hung up on this topic and this um, dissonance. It's like a when you play music, sometimes the most beautiful things are the things that are discordant and that are
Right.
dissonant, and it's not always striking the perfect chord that's a G major. Sometimes it's some
Exactly.
weird ass discordant chord that's ugly, but it sounds cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
uh yeah, I'm
Yeah. I
rambling
mean,
again, but
it's all
I guess
you
I'm
know what I
trying
mean.
to
But
dive deeper and trying to gain further understanding.
yeah. Well, it's something that for me it was an interesting journey because it was very much a struggle, I guess, because didn't I didn't know how to feel, that like, okay, I feel this way, but how does that play into my Christianity? You know what I mean? I was
How
conflicted,
reckless
I
were
guess.
you during those early years? Do you think? Do you look back and be like, I can't believe I'm still alive? Like,
Yeah, yeah. I really, honestly, I really, I mean, I went through like DUIs, overdoses. I was just plastered every day, day in and day out, getting as high as I could, doing everything I could get my hands on. It really is uh,
do you mind talking about drug use?
no,
Um, so I never delved into anything really heavy. I mean, the craziest thing I ever did was DXM. That was absolutely
yeah,
stupid. Uh, just based off of like the internet had just hit and we found like a blog where people gave trip reports and we're like, oh,
yeah,
you can
right,
take over the counter medications and trip balls off of this. Like we were so uneducated and so stupid. Um, but like I never got into like meth or like snorting stuff or definitely injecting or anything like that. But can you maybe give a brief like timeline of how you went from being a good Christian boy to
yeah.
trip them balls off and damaging your brain possibly?
started, yeah, I mean, it all starts marijuana, of course, but it's just one thing after another. I really just, I don't know. I was always wanting to know about things. I've always been curious, I guess.
Do you remember the first time you smoked marijuana?
Yes, I do.
Who was that with?
That would be you, my friend.
Oh, I was pretty sure. I thought it was, but I wasn't sure. I have like a vague memory of like being
We
in the
were in my dad's
kitchen.
shed in the backyard.
Oh, that is right. And
Hmm.
that was when there was no fence behind the creek. It was still
Right.
unfenced, and
Yeah, so we
I
were like,
forgot about
we can
all
go in
that.
here and we can like kind of be closed off.
And I bet I was the bad influence. I was the guy that didn't have a pastor for a dad. I was like, hey,
Yeah,
hey.
yeah, it is what it is, I don't know. I, we all make our own choices, to do things in life. Yeah, there's influences from other people, but ultimately it boils down. We all make up our
I
own minds
remember
to do
just
what we
being
do.
very curious about it. I was like,
Yeah, me
what is the
too.
mystery behind all this? Like, and I just the curiosity is what took over. It wasn't like
Yeah,
people influencing me to do. It wasn't peer pressure.
right.
It
Yeah, I
came
mean,
internally. I was just so curious
I'm
about it.
exactly like I was the same way. I didn't. There wasn't no, hey, you're not cool if you don't do this kind of thing or anything. It was just a sheer curiosity about it. Like what is it? What does it do? you know?
Yeah,
And
I remember
I
my
guess that's
first
kind of.
time
I'm
getting
sorry. Go ahead.
high, and I just laughed hysterically for like 20 minutes. It was such a positive, like great experience. I was like just blown away. Unfortunately, like it was such a positive thing that I was like, I can't not do that again.
Yeah,
I was
yeah,
just like
right.
laughing and just full of pure joy. And I had to go back to high school detention after that. But um, some really sketchy dude, introduced me to it, and eventually, at some point, I guess I introduced you to it. I'm not exactly clear on
Yeah.
the history behind all that, but it was probably within 6 months, somewhere in like 2016 or something like that, 2017, probably
Yeah,
2017.
it was in the 90s.
I'm sorry, 97, 96,
Yeah.
not
Yeah, because it
20.
was like it was right around the time I graduated.
No, no, yeah, no. I was like, I meant to say like 97, 96, 98, not
Yeah.
2017.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so that was I don't know. I guess I wanted to explore and wanted to know, okay, what's the difference between this high and this high. So
So
I went from this to this to this to this to this, and
that's what I wanted to kind of drill down a little bit deeper into, if you're okay with that. So like,
yeah,
um, I graduated in 1998, and then in 1999, I believe, is when I moved to Massachusetts. So like, it
yeah,
was either 1999 or 2000. It was right after the tornado. I was like, I'm out of here.
yeah.
Um, and during that time, um, I'd left, obviously, or the band broke up or whatever, Shoe Repair Magic, and I was like,
Mm,
fuck playing in a Christian band, like fuck that shit.
yeah.
I'm too cool for school. I want to play in some hipster, like cool, like punk rock band, hardcore band, whatever. And I started my own band, and I called a band Gray Matters. It was with Mitch, a dude who played
I
drums
remember that. Yeah,
from Edmond, who was the not the greatest drummer. And like every time we would like practice, I'd be like, "Hey, do you mind if I sit down behind the drum kit?" could you maybe play a drum beat that sounds more like this? Do, 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 ch." And I would like literally have to show him what to play. And
Yeah.
I was like, why am I the drummer of the band that I'm playing guitar for? um, we tried to put out a demo, and we did. It's pretty good. It's not bad. We paid this coke addict that worked out of Oklahoma City, Wes Anderson. I want to say no, that's a director of famous artistic films. His name is Wesley, Wesley something, but he was a coke addict, and he would
You
like,
know Wes Turner, by
uh,
chance?
maybe
I know a producer in Oklahoma City by that name. That's why I just throwing it out there. Maybe I don't know. Who knows?
he was really great at what he did. He had a workflow, and he was like asking me. He was like, "Hey man, like, what are your plans? Like, you seem pretty talented. Like, what do you want to do with your life?" And I was like, "I want to be a recording engineer." And he was like, "No, you don't." I was like, "What do you mean?" He was like, "Dude, you have no idea what you're getting into." I was like, "No, I want to record bands." And he was like, "No, you really don't. Uh, you realize all these quote unquote clients are unreliable. They're all drug addicts. They're all irresponsible rather. They may show up, they may not show up. The only reliable contacts you might have would be like a Christian country band or something." I'm like, oh, damn it. And I was like, well, that sucks. Like,
Yeah, like wah wah wah.
yeah. So anyway, he recorded us, and the drums are terrible, but yeah, we got a Gray Matters demo out of it, and so yeah, it's
Still have
nice.
the recordings?
Yeah, yeah.
I'd like to hear that.
Oh, okay. Sure, I can pull
Fun
it
to
up.
take a listen to.
Pull it up. I'll send it to you. I kind of wish we were doing a live stream next time. If we do another podcast
Yeah,
together,
we
I'll
need to
do it
get on
live.
Discord and
That way you can hear
do a live
everything
thing.
instead of like
Yeah, that'd be cool.
instead of you like having to like search for links. I can just produce it for you and just pull it up. That way you don't have to like
Right.
squint your eyes trying to click on some shit. Let's see, Gmail. Hmm. I may not be able to find it right this moment, but I will dig it up and send it to you. I think
Oh,
it's
for
on
future
an
reference, yeah.
external hard drive.
It'd be cool to take a listen to.
Yeah, I'll dig it up. I'll send it to you later.
Okay.
Any questions for me? I've been asking you a bunch of questions.
Did you ever get to travel with any bands?
Mm, not really. Not in the same way where like you might think of it, where it's like in a bus and traveling and doing like a tour down the East Coast or something like that. No,
Yeah.
but I did travel and play in bands like randomly.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
Especially once I got into New England and started diving into that whole scene. I really wanted to be involved in like a scene. Like I just thought that was just the coolest thing to be in this like do it yourself kind of environment. The internet hasn't quite exploded yet, but
Yeah.
like there just might be like a show in someone's basement, or there might be a show in the woods where everyone pulls up their cars in a circle and turns on their headlights, and everyone stands in the middle, and uh, the amps are powered by a generator in the middle of the woods, and
Yeah.
um, and you just hear like the craziest fucking thrashiest metal ever, or other times just in a basement show with just a band just pouring out their heart, playing the most delicate clean guitar, um, jazzy kind of clean, just soothing. stuff. I mean, you could call it emo, I guess, but um, back in the day, it wasn't called emo. And then now the current version of emo is not what it used to be.
Yeah, that's for sure. Things have
But
changed,
I was definitely
as they all
involved
do.
in that whole scene, and I definitely traveled around and went to basement shows and went to all the super cool, like special invite VIP kind of shows, and I got to
Yeah,
experience that. I didn't get to travel as like a touring band, but I definitely made multiple bands, and
yeah,
for every single one, I was always the ringleader. I was always the guy that created it. I was always the guy that recruited everyone. I was always the one to pull everyone in. I was always the one to schedule band practice. I was always the one to be like, "Hey, where are you? You're supposed to be here."
yeah,
Like I was the
right.
guy like just driving everything. I was the one that had all the passion and the motivation to do everything, and it just felt like I was always like dragging everyone along with me. uh, and sometimes it requires that level of passion and commitment to get shit done, and I did.
Yeah, I think you have to have that. You got to have that if you want to make anything music. Somebody got to have that in the band, or you're never gonna get anywhere.
Yeah, so I did that, and over time it just kind of transitioned to I got to a point where I could just do it all by myself
Yeah,
and just started writing and recording my own songs, and then I would share it with like a previous drummer, and they'd be like, "What the hell? Like, why didn't you call me to record that?" I'm like, "I did." um, you want to record it now? And they're like, "Yeah, hell yeah!" And then it just never happens. I'm like, okay,
right.
I see where the motivation is.
Yeah, yeah. My quote unquote touring experience was interesting. I mean, it's just basically a 15-seat van with a little trailer on the back. Hot and sweaty, but it was definitely a cool experience. Nonetheless. I did that little gig with Navi and Navi, and then I actually found a band on back then it was Craigslist uh, called Jump Ship Astronaut, and they needed somebody to help them run their light show. Like they had these LED bars, and they wanted to kind of put together a really really small scale light show, and they had just released an EP, and so like they were going on this little tour stint, and I hooked up with them and ran their lights for them. That was a pretty fun little deal. Very, very, like I said, very small. It's just like little club venues, bar and club venues here and there.
So, setting up lighting equipment and stuff like that. So, did you? So you're definitely in the like AV, like audio visual, like um, workspace. So you're dealing with
Yeah,
what are those risers called? That like the steel, like um, I don't even know if they're steel, like aluminum, probably. Like these like things that go up, and it's where you harness and
right. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I can't think of the word right off the top of my head, but
I
like
can't think of it
it
either.
wasn't quite. It definitely wasn't on that scale. I mean, like I said, it was very, very small clubs and bars. I mean, just
Okay, so just
small
like
stage.
plugging in a fog
But we just
machine
had
on the
like
lift or something, or
what we do is like we had these bars that were like probably like a kind of like a 6 foot or so, maybe 5 foot tall bars that were strips, and they had these LED lights in them, and we ran a little program on the computer, on an Apple computer.
did they play to a click track?
No, they didn't.
So were you
we
doing like the lighting, like timing
right. I was just kind of, I knew the
manual?
songs, and I would just kind of change, change scenes here and do, kind of flashes on their beats with
That's
them and
not a
stuff,
bad
and things
gig.
like
That
that.
sounds kind
It
of
was
like
it was fun. It really was
it
fun.
sounds like a fun gig because there's like very little responsibility other than making sure it's all connected, and then
Right. Yeah, it was pretty much just,
you just listen to the.
help set up, tear down, and play around while they're playing. Make it look
Mm,
flashy. So that was kind of cool because, like, at that time, um, I was thinking about getting into the whole AV thing, and because I had done some work for some churches, and I landed a job at Ford Audio Video here in Oklahoma City, which does some of the big arena stuff. Like they did all the Thunder Arena and all that jazz. Um, but yeah, so I was kind of into the whole lighting, DMX controllers and things for a little bit, from the tech side of music and productions, I guess you could say.
that is awesome. I did some AV work myself um, when I had. I think it was when I first moved out to New England. Um, I was like, all right, my parents are being really cool, like paying for like first month's rent or whatever, but I got to get a job, I got to go to school, I got to get an education, I got to do all these things. That was like kind of part
Right.
of the agreement. It's like, yeah, we'll let you move to Boston, but you can't just just go and just freeload off of us. You gotta do stuff.
Right.
And that was one of my first forays into the working environment. Um, and in Boston, there's so many shows, there's so many productions, there's like,
Yeah.
theater companies that are doing like literally like theater like plays,
Yeah. Yeah.
for Harvard, for Cambridge, for
Right.
uh, there's just so much going on. There's so many schools and universities that it wasn't too hard to find and just tap into. I think it was like a union-based company, and like day one, it was like showing up on a construction job. They're like, "Here you go. There's this giant chassis. You gotta rank this
Right.
up, ratchet this up, and don't break your back on this, and watch out for this thing. It may fall, and make sure you wear a helmet when you're doing this. And these are your patch cables. We're gonna run 100 feet over here, and this snake is gonna go over here." I was just like, "Wow, what the?" I was just thrown into it completely.
See,
Just
that was my Ford Audio experience. I was like overwhelmed, and I thought, oh my God, this is like more construction than it is like
yeah,
design, I guess you could say.
yeah.
Yeah, it was. I didn't last very long there,
Yeah, I didn't
to
last
say
very
the
long
least.
in that environment either. I did some freelancing where
Uh,
I got a job at Guitar Center in the pro audio department,
yeah,
and people would
pretty
come
cool.
in that were professionals, but they weren't they were older, so they weren't tapped into like the scene. They weren't tapped into like I guess what I was tapped into, like who's playing at the Middle East Club tonight in Cambridge. Like
Right.
what punk band is playing tonight or whatever. And we'd get these like college professors coming in and be like, "Hey, I'm gonna buy this equipment, but I don't know what I'm doing. Can I hire you to do this?" And like, I'm working right now, dude. Like, are you like trying to contract me on the side? And they'd be like, it was kind of sketchy. Like people would just like write down their email address or their phone number and just like hand it to you and be like, nod, nod, wink, wink. I'm like, okay. So I'm like a corporate whore now. Um,
Right.
and legit was straight up exactly like that. It's like, how like in modern days there's, websites for, sex traffic and stuff like that, like Backpage and that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
where you can hire someone to do whatever you want, I guess. But it was like
Uh,
before then, it was just like I really need some nerd to record my audio stuff.
yeah.
And it was super innocent. And so yeah, I did some of that work. I did freelance work. Um,
That's cool.
it was fun. It was interesting. Definitely got myself in some weird scenarios. There was definitely certain nights where a Harvard professor was paying me way too much money, and he would be like, "Look, you can hang out in the Harvard like lounge room, and there's unlimited wine and food, and just like I'll see you in like 4 hours." And then the next day, I'm just waking up like, "Oh, damn, what happened?" Like, did I?
Right.
Hopefully I recorded that. Oh, um, did that guy, abuse me in some way? Like, I'm not really sure. I have no idea. Like, I don't really know what the fuck happened there. Uh,
Yeah. Crazy, crazy days.
but eventually, once I left Guitar Center, my next job was working for Bose Corporation, and that was very much like a corporate like work environment where you have 401k,
Hmm.
retirement plan, insurance, abilities or benefits. I mean, um, and I ended up working there for 11 years, and
That's cool.
left there voluntarily, moved back to Oklahoma, and then ended up working for Dell, which is pretty much the exact same thing, and then now working for a bank. It's pretty much the exact same thing. It's just corporate entity. I'm a corporate whore, but have all the benefits and stuff, and I can pay my rent, pay my bills, and that is a huge, huge thing for me.
Yeah, good. I did a couple of stints at Dell, or attempted. Let me say attempted a couple of stints at Dell. I did some tech support jobs for like Department of Defense.
Nice.
That's kind of interesting. But I just, I don't know. It was so much like call center stuff that I just could not sit there and do that for 10 hours a day.
What's your revenue? This is an awkward question. You don't have to answer this, but like, how do you make money nowadays? Like, uh, are there benefits due to your some of the medical issues, or working
I
a job,
actually,
or
well, I had been doing just various jobs up until about a year ago when everything kind of really, I started getting really sick. Uh, and so I haven't worked since then. I'm now I'm going through the disability process of getting on disability, so I at least have some form of income.
what's your living situation like?
I live with my parents right now.
Yeah.
And they kind of help me get around and such since I can't drive, and yeah,
Have you shifted your personal beliefs because you're living with your parents now, and like, have you like tamed things down a little bit just to calm their anxieties, or do they totally understand your history and your
no,
background,
they
and it just totally accepting of who you are?
well, I mean, they never accepted me as being trans. I mean, I was very open about it,
I
and
was gonna say that's a pretty big issue. I'm gonna
yeah,
dance around that a little bit, but I didn't want to grill you on it hardcore. But
Yeah, it it caused a lot of fights, honestly, between me and my family, because they had always taken the Christian stance on transgender is evil, that kind of thing.
but you have acknowledged that you've changed your views and now you are aligned with the Christian stance now. Am I
Yeah,
mistaken?
I actually am. No, you're not mistaken. I have. Um, I feel like I've come full circle or something, so to speak. I guess you could say.
It's really a difficult thing for, I think, people, at least for me, to wrap my brain around, because it seems like, from my perspective, if I were traumatized and I felt I grew up a certain way and everything that everyone taught me was wrong, and then I finally realized it was all backwards and broken, I'd be like, F that, fuck that, I'm never going back to that ever again. But it seems that, yeah, like you said, you've kind of come full circle, and
Yeah,
that is the challenging part. I think that's more challenging to wrap my mind around than it would be if you were just like, fuck it, I'm a, you know straight up just like, I'm a scientist now and I only believe in facts and logic and math, and there is no leap of faith required at all. It's just pragmatic, logical science.
yeah, right. Yeah, I had always, I mean, even when I was not necessarily, uh, religious or, trying to follow Christianity or whatever, um, the whole transgender issue was always a question to me of whether it was, whether it's right or wrong, this kind of thing. You know what I mean? Because there's so much unknown about it. Um, and
Well, I think
for
to
me,
explore those questions, I mean, the source of the topic comes from the individual, right? So, like, the best person to ask would be someone like yourself, right? Like,
I
and
mean, I would, I
that's
would say so. Um, you know, on my personal experiences, I, I dove into the lifestyle of it all and thought that I wanted to do that with my life and thought that's who I was, and um,
it seems.
headed down that road.
I don't know if I'm assuming too much, but it just kind of seems reactionary. It's like you're just kind of reacting to stimulus input. Whatever is happening in your life, whatever just came in front of your in front of your eyeballs. It's like, all right, let's go down this road. Huh? Yeah, I'll try this out. Like, it didn't
Yeah,
seem like you were trying to, um, correct me if I'm wrong here, and please interrupt at any point. But it didn't seem like you had like this solid agenda of like, I'm gonna do this or this. It just seemed like you were just passively just kind of rolling with the punches. Just, um, and then
yeah,
if
yeah,
something engaged you and perked your interest, you would, you know, maybe dial in on that.
yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, you're probably right on that. Um, it's kind of the whole like transgender feelings, so to speak, is a very weird thing to talk about. I guess because it's just like without making myself sound like some kind of weirdo, it's very difficult territory to navigate.
I understand,
Talking
and
about
I
thoughts of this
understand.
growing up, I mean,
I
because
understand
to
the
be honest,
reluctance. Yeah.
yeah, to be honest, I had these thoughts since I was very young, even though I was very sheltered and had no clue about, I didn't even know trans people existed back then. Um,
Yeah, I'm really glad you mentioned that because I mean I understand it's difficult, challenging, and uncomfortable to talk about, but from when I try to share my own perspective, it feels very simple because it's uniformed and it's accepted that um, you're a man and you're attracted to a woman. It's like okay,
mm,
it's pretty straightforward. There's not a whole lot of confusion, and I guess I should just count my lucky stars that that was an innate thing that was, in my opinion, like it was not a choice. It's built into my like genetics. It was not
yeah.
like a question. It is what it is. It's like you don't get to pick and choose who you're attracted to, in my point of view. Like if I am secretly having a crush on a girl with crooked teeth and she's got an ugly smile, but I just for some reason find her cute. I'm like, damn it, I can't help myself. I think that chick is awesome, and it turns out she plays in a indie rock band, and she's a drummer that wears white glasses, and it's like, wow, holy shit, I can't believe I just found my soulmate. Holy hell. Um, and I feel like that's just like a natural thing that occurs, and then a lot of people, when it comes to politics and elections and stuff, when it comes down to rights and what's available to you, what's not available to you. Uh,
Mm,
it gets weird, and that's where there's like this like whole like I don't know if people are opting to choose certain beliefs or if they're just acting on like what is innate in their human nature, and that is the question I'm trying to ask is like how much do you think is just like you're just acting on like what is your human nature versus how much of that is was like a choice. Does that make sense? It's a difficult
it
question.
really does. Yeah, I mean, it really does. It's a hard thing to wrap your mind around, but it does make sense to me. I mean, I understand where you're coming from. Um,
Maybe there is some gray area that I just and that's maybe where I don't have the understanding. I don't know.
yeah, I think you're right about that. There is a lot of gray area regarding the whole transgender thing.
And each scenario is going to be different, right? Like not everyone's going
Yeah,
to.
exactly. I mean, we're all raised differently with different beliefs and different households and different, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and that all kind of plays into shape who we are. Um, uh, yeah,
Where do you find yourself today? Like
well, today, you know, I'm just Jason. Honestly, to me, the whole like it all got so confusing, and it does cause such confusion in your head trying to navigate through the stuff that it almost was just like, you know what? I've focused so much on this thing and trying to figure this thing out that like I'm just letting life pass me by. If that makes sense.
I think so. So you're saying like you felt like you spent too much time focusing on it and trying to figure it out that you kind of lost the plot for a minute. It's like I spent
Yeah,
3, 4, 5 years trying to figure this out. Like fuck it, I'm just you know what?
I'm done.
It's I'm
Yeah, and
Jason and I'm gonna live my life how I want to, and it doesn't matter.
exactly. yeah, that's kind of the point I reached. And honestly, um, you know, you may as well just open the whole can of worms with the whole like politic side of things, such.
Okay.
Um,
Go
I
ahead.
think the idea that that we should introduce transgenderism to children is completely crazy and insane. While I think we should, teach children to accept people, um, trying to encourage them to be a boy if they're a girl or a girl if they're a boy at such a young age, they have no concept of what they're trying to wrap their mind around. I mean, it is a life-altering change, and it is very. It's not something, you know what I mean. It's not just something. Oh, hey, let's do this today. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And that's how you think as a child. You don't think in long terms of how this is going to impact your life. Um,
After 9/11, I got pretty involved in politics, and I was very, very left leaning, kind of
hmm
almost like radical, like, leftist, like
Yeah,
um, what you might consider like Antifa today. But back in 2001, 2002, 2003, 2004,
uh
the left leaning party was nothing even remotely close to the new left wing that we have now. Like, I was going to watch Noam Chomsky talk at MIT and Harvard, and
hmm
listening to him talk about the Arab-Israeli conflict, which now is a whole new thing again. Um, but listening to him talk about atrocities that America has committed against other countries. These are all like left leaning like policy ideas, and just like educating the youth about like, hey, America seems pretty badass, but if you really take a deep dive inspection of America, it turns out we've been pretty evil monsters for a long time, doing all kinds of atrocious bad things. So that
right.
was like the old left back in the day, but now it's like it's so toxic. You can't get away with anything. Like everyone's getting canceled left and right. Um,
Right.
it's The left has taken on um, socialism and capitalism and these topics of debate, uh, and it gets really screwy really quickly. And
Yeah.
I feel like I'm having more like right wing, like uh, not it's not the proper term. I just feel like I'm a little bit more measured in my approach to uh, evaluating political um, hot button topics. Um,
hmm
and one of them is um, gay rights, transgenderism, equal rights to serve in the military. Um, just there's so many hot button topics, uh, and I just feel like the current new youth that I used to be, when I was 19, 20, 22,
Right.
23, 24 years old, is
Yeah.
gotten just so toxic and almost like militarized to the point where it's like I I don't identify it with it anymore. Um,
Yeah.
it seems just super toxic. It seems dangerous. It seems like it's going to the opposite extreme that it's like it's going to the things that I used to hate. Like when I was a leftist, when I was,
Yeah.
like a uh, rebellious teenager into punk rock and hardcore, it was like, yeah, these are the bad things, and suddenly it's like, oh, now the left is doing the bad things.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think any ideology or political, whatever, uh, anything can be too extreme, left or right.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in my view, I'm very much a middle of the road, kind of a libertarian view. Um,
And you know
but
what? It doesn't surprise me now that we've had this discussion for a while now and kind of got to understand where you're coming from and your past experiences and stuff. But like,
mm,
if you just gave like a generic label of yourself and your previous background and experience, like no one would believe you're a, you know, libertarian centrist.
yeah, yeah, that's kind of where I've landed on the whole thing, because I look at the far left and I think they're evil, and I look at the far right and I think they're evil, and it's like it can all go wrong quickly when it becomes extremism, in any form,
Yeah, I mean, that is one way to define evil. Of all the things that are going on
Well,
in the
I
world
use the
today,
term evil. I guess bad, whatever. I don't know. I don't really view anybody as really being evil. I guess I'm not quite that extreme about politics. I mean, unless you're like dictatorship, then you are probably evil.
well, that's an interesting question. So, what do you are there things happening in the world today that you would deem as evil?
Yeah. I mean, you know, any kind of genocide is evil, I think.
So, can you give an example?
Well, I mean, we can jump right into the whole like Hamas Israel war going on, right now.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm leading you into this. So, like, what what do you find as evil? Like, so it's really tricky because there's a lot of nuance.
Yeah.
A lot of people have had many discussions, and it's
Well, I
far
think,
left, far right, centrist. Like,
as far as evil goes, I mean, anytime you try to be authoritarian and think that your race or whatever is the only way, and that another race should be decimated, you got problems. I mean, there's something wrong with your head there. That's that's to
I'll
me,
go ahead
that's
and
evil.
expose myself and make myself a little bit vulnerable. Um, I used to have the mindset of Israel is being funded by America with my tax dollar money, and it's like I'm working for a corporation, and a good chunk of my salary or my daily income is being fed to Israel, which is being fed to sponsor like bulldozers, and they're using those bulldozers to just like chop down Palestinian land, and then the Israelis were building their own, mansions and houses on top of their land and just taking it over, and just the
Mm,
United States is just, bullying the fuck out of these poor Palestinians. And so of course their response is to, fire rockets and missiles and stuff, and but there's a huge but.
yeah.
Um, if you go back and do some research and go all the way back to like 1947 and looking at the original intifadas and how it all started, like the back and forth, um, that that liberal left wing, like, oh, just support the Palestinians, and Israel is just a bunch of bullies with American sponsorship, and we're just bombing them for the fuck of it. Um, I had to take a second step back and kind of reevaluate my position. And I think that just comes with maturity and just growing older and doing a
Yeah.
little bit more research and not being so reactive. But Anyway, that's why I was asking that question. I was like, where do you find yourself out these days? Because I think that shows kind of like where you're at, where your head's at. Like, what's your maturity level? What's your intellect? Um, you can find out a lot about people by asking some basic political questions, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, on that whole subject, I mean, they have been fighting for this land for 2,000 years now. It goes all the way back in the Bible.
Ooh, I have a question for you, Jason.
Mm-hmm.
This question, by the way, has been a question that has caused me to stop talking to people at some point.
Okay.
I'm not going to make that same mistake. I'll be open minded, and I'll just, regardless of your answer, I'm not going to change my opinion of you as a colleague, as a professional, as a friend, someone that I've known my entire life, pretty much.
Yeah.
So, how old do you think the planet Earth is?
I honestly tend to believe that the Earth is about 6,000 years old.
Okay. And are you aware of like carbon dating and analysis of um, samples of
Right. Yeah.
things like that? Okay. All right.
But like the whole carbon dating system is so flawed.
Is it though? So why choose 6,000 instead of 2,000? Because I go for 14.3 billion, but um, curious why you land on 6,000.
I mean, I think, well, the honestly, I think it's impossible to know because if you're going from a biblical perspective of things,
Well, I'm not.
um, I mean, I view things from a biblical perspective. I believe in creationism, that God created things.
Yeah,
But
so that
the
I mean that
whole
is literally the
concept,
crux of the question. So
yeah, right. The
so
whole
basically
concept of
you're
like,
answering saying you believe the Bible and you're willing to make like a leap of faith on time dating of the historical archival record of our existence you think is only
yeah,
6,000 years old.
could be right around there, maybe.
So, okay, for me, I make my decisions based on like logic and tangible reachable things. And
Yeah.
so like do you have a logical tangible reachable thing that like cuz I hate to make giant leaps of faith. Like I can't do that. I like if it requires a leap of faith, then I just opt on the I err on the side of like I don't know. I don't want to just say like, "Oh, I know the world is 6,000 years old." Like if there's any flaw or error in there, I'm willing to suspend my disbelief and be like, you know what? I don't actually know. Could be 6,000 years old. Could be 14.4 billion years old. I really don't know. Not
See, that's
sure.
that's where I'm at, quite honestly. I mean, really, I guess I spoke out 6,000. I I'm more apt to say nobody knows because we don't know. Nobody has
So,
proven,
are you agnostic then?
100% proven anything. No, I'm not agnostic because I do have faith in God. I do believe in God.
So you do make that leap.
Yes.
That's where I can't. So that's the biggest difference, and I'm not
And
trying to change
honestly,
beliefs by any
yeah,
means. Because
I
I
understand,
hate
yeah.
that. I hate when people try to like change my belief.
And honestly, for me, the only thing that has led me here to this point in my life is because of personal experiences with God that I've had. And
And that's a personal
and it's a
experience.
personal thing. Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
I can't convey that to you. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah,
You can't write that on a chalkboard and explain it in a formula that I've been like,
yeah,
oh, okay, this equals
exactly.
this,
Yeah,
and
I really can't.
yeah, because that's where I get hung up. Is I'm willing to go so far with someone's belief until the point where I
Mm,
can't, and it's like there's always a hang up. There's always something where it's like, hey, you can't prove that, and they're like, no, I can't. I'm like, okay, so you're just choosing to believe that, and they're like, yep. I'm like, okay, that's where we separate. It's like I can't just choose to believe something because I want to. It doesn't like I have to remove my own personal bias and just be like, look, I really want to believe this, but I can't prove it. And the only way that I can prove it, it's not measurable right now. And if I can't measure it, if I can't lay it on a chalkboard or in a scientific journal or something, then it's a leap of faith. And therefore, I'm making a faith leap. And that's where I get hung up. And I'm talking with my uncle who's super religious. He wants to take me out on a hike and build a log cabin and hang out and do all this stuff and talk about Jesus. And it sounds pretty
yeah,
cool. Like, totally down for that. But at the same time, we're going to have some late night campfire talks where I'm going to be like, dude, I don't think the Earth is 3,000 years old. Um,
yeah.
and unless you can prove it to me, I mean, yeah.
See, honestly, okay, and maybe I'm brainwashed or whatever. Um, I recently went a couple of years back to the Creation Museum, and
That sounds like an amazing
I
place
know
I
it
should
sounds
go
it
visit.
sounds cheesy and funny, but
I
honestly,
want to take a video
it
camera
made
and go there.
it made sense using a timeline that really makes quite a lot of sense of
So
using biblical creationism, putting a
I'm
timeline to
sure
it,
you
basically.
can spin
You
it in
know,
a fashion that it makes sense. The same way that I can spin it a timeline of if we dig core samples out of um, glacier ice, I can show you measurable data that's millions of years old with bacteria that hasn't existed and viruses that haven't existed forever. And we
mm,
can look at the core samples and do scientific measurable experiments and like clearly dictate like, hey, this is from um, 2.4 million years ago based on carbon dating and science. But then someone on the religious side of the other side of the coin could come back and say like, well, we don't believe in this because blah 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 blah, and so therefore your science is invalid. And we're like, well, you're just making that up. And we have literature and data, and we're trying our best to measure these things. Whereas the the other side of the coin is just basically just saying like, we don't believe it. I'm like, well, where's your data? Where's your like back it up? And they're like, no, we just don't believe it. I'm like, okay, well, I mean, we're doing all the work here. We're doing all the science. We're doing all the data logs. We're doing all the core sampling. We're doing all the drilling. We're really making an active effort to try to understand this stuff. But the counter argument is just like, nah, nah, it's wrong. I'm like, okay, well, explain, please. I'm dying for an answer. And it's just like, no,
right.
no, it's wrong.
Yeah. I totally get what you're saying on that. I mean, I understand that.
It's baffling to me that people think the earth is so young. Uh, I mean, just look at. You know what? Never mind. Never mind. I hate when people try to convince me of things. So, uh, I digress. I'll stop. I think it's been a really cool conversation, Jason. Um,
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you for hopping on impromptu like this. I didn't know we were going to have a podcast tonight, but um,
All right.
we
Yeah,
did.
it's been fun. Well, that's the subject matter.
Is there anything you want to shout out, like a project you're working on, a YouTube channel, or a link, anything?
Not really. I've got some ideas, but nothing has become of it yet. I don't really have any. Haven't put anything out. So,
Well, let's keep
but
in
I got things
contact.
up and coming. So definitely so.
I plan on, if I can keep myself in check, and I don't know. I think what I'd like to do is do like one podcast like a week, and
Mm-hmm.
kind of like
Yeah.
the idea behind it is listening and discovering things that I don't know about. And so it exposes my vulnerabilities. So I could do a podcast about all of my favorite bands and just wax lackadaisical all about it. Be like, oh, blah, 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 and give you all the facts behind it. But I like being more vulnerable and not understanding everything and going into what I call like a dry listen. So it's like, I'll reach out to someone that I haven't talked to in 20 years and be like, what's your favorite album right now? What's going on in your life right now? And try to understand that and wrap my brain around it. I think that's way
Yeah.
more
Yeah.
entertaining, at least for me. Um,
Right.
and ultimately, that's what I'm getting at. And
Yeah, I think that's a good direction to go with things. Really. I mean, I think that would be a cool thing to listen to. I dig
so
it.
I really appreciate your perspective on life. And we may not see eye to eye on everything like identically, and that's never going to happen with anyone. But it's
Right.
really interesting to get your feedback and to hear some old recordings. And I'd like to do this again. Basically,
Yeah, likewise, definitely.
I'm wrapping it up a little bit, but I'd definitely like to bring you in as like a special guest, like a
Yeah.
co-host that I bring in now and again, especially if I'm talking to someone who's being a little bit of an asshole or something, and be like, hey, let me bring in my Christian buddy and set you straight. Uh,
Yeah, I'd definitely be down for anything. I mean, it's been fun, and um, you know, we just need to probably we need to get Discord thing working, and listen to more music together. I'm down for that, definitely.
yeah, for sure. That's definitely the arena that I'm best suited for is whether it's playing my own music or reviewing someone else's music. That's where my passion is at for sure. I love
Yeah,
listening to music and just reviewing it and breaking it down, talking about the recording process, imagining what kind of guitar they played, like what was the drummer thinking about when they hit the kick drum on this point instead of that point. Like uh, we can definitely go into a super deep dive on technical uh, recordings and
yeah,
why songwriters choose their decisions that they choose. You have experience in this, so do I, and there's just so much material out there that whether it's a Christian pop punk band or just a crazy math rock band that is shitting on flat Earth theories, that's something I'm definitely interested in. So,
Yeah, yeah.
all right, man. Well, I guess I'll wrap it up here.
Okay.
Anything you want to say or talk about before we wrap it up?
No, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. Appreciate the time, and look forward to where this is going.
Hell yeah. Let's definitely do it again. I'm glad we established this contact, and yeah, like you said, we'll get Discord all sorted out, and think about maybe um, some other tracks, some old school stuff maybe I forgot about.
Definitely,
Definitely
yeah,
like to
yeah.
listen to stuff as long as it won't get me copyright strikes and get me canceled off the internet. But
Right. Yeah,
even if
well,
that
we can
happens,
do
I'll
we can
just
take out some obscure stuff that won't. So
yeah. So bear that in mind, and definitely surprise me with some old recordings or something. That'd be awesome.
yeah, sounds good.
All right, bud. Well, have a great rest of the day, night, morning. It's what 12:57 in the morning. Yeah, it's yeah. Have a great rest of your night, Dan. Dan, Jason. Sorry,
Yeah, thanks, man.
I
You
don't I
too.
don't get out very often. I have like three friends. one of them
Likewise.
one of them their name is Dan. So my bad.
All right, man. Well, I will catch you
Dude,
later.
it was really nice catching up with you. I feel like this
Yeah,
is a great conversation. So,
definitely.
all right, man. Well, you take care of yourself, and see you next time.
All right. Be in touch.
All right. See ya.
Bye.